Shalom, Shalom Kal Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Recha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS that rule well, who I learned this truth from, and salutations and blessings to you elect out there, brothers and few sisters that take heed. Alright, so this lesson is going to be based off this book. And again, I took pictures of it because it's easier than to, try to do it while I'm reading from it, right, on the camera. So I just thought to take pictures. But the book is called Indian Givers, How Native Americans Transformed the World. All right, by Jack Weatherford. And this book is good. Goes into a lot of things that the different tribes in the north, central, south, and the surrounding islands of the Americas, what they did, their methods and their knowledge. And just a quick point, they show you Gad as very dark skinned, right? These are Gadites. All right, that's just another side note. But let's go here. This is from page 242. All right, and this is pretty much going into, the hygiene, the practices that all tribes kept, and the complete filthiness of these devils, man, these conquistadors, these Edomites, going under different monikers, right? So it says one medical practice in the highlighted part, employed extensively by the Aztecs but abhorred by the Spanish, was bathing. Right? And these are Spaniards that are Edomites, right? Because the Spanish, they took over, they kicked out the Moors, right? And the last stronghold being Granada in 1491, right? They kicked them out, but they took their knowledge, but these are Edomites, man. It said they abhorred bathing. This included daily washing in a river, lake, stream, or pond, as well as more elaborate medicinal baths. The Aztecs built temazcali steam rooms similar to ancient Roman hypocausts or hypocausts. These beehive-shaped structures of stone or brick were heated, and the patient rested inside while various combinations of drugs were burned in the smoke or added directly to the bath to treat the patient. Now, when it says drugs, right, this is dealing with in the ancient times, so there were no so-called pharmaceutical drugs. Drugs is not really a bad word in itself. When you look up the word drug, it simply means a dried substance. So you had even dried cinnamon, that was a drug. Or dried turmeric root or whatever. So these are dealing with herbs when it says drugs, not to bug people out. Although the Aztecs and different tribes, Mayas, and even the Pueblo, New Mexico Indians, they're into psychedelics and they have peyote and different things like that. But again, this is dealing with medicinal baths. So it says sometimes this was accompanied by body massage with various types of leaves and ointments. Every village had one or more temazcali, and they were used to treat everything from fevers and boils to insect allergies and snake bites. They were also used, right, to treat exhaustion and aching muscles, as well as to speed the recovery of women following childbirth. Apparently, this practice extended over virtually all of the Americas in various forms. When Francisco Pizarro arrived in the land of the Incas, the emperor Atahualpa was in the mountains enjoying the thermal baths around Cajamarca and recovering from a long military campaign against his half-brother Huascar. Throughout the Andes, hot springs were tried as sacred huaca by the Quechua speakers and used to promote good health. See, so these are medicinal things, right? That nowadays it's in pop culture, steam rooms and hot baths, right? Because knowledge is increased, everybody knows about this. But in the ancient times, these were practices that the Israelites mainly kept, right? Cleansiness and all these different practices, man, that these other nations got it from us, You see how the Edomites themselves got down. Other nations, they weren't as bad as these as Esau, but some of them were pushing the line. Right? It says virtually. Oh, it's like it says down. The extensive use of baths by the Indians was viewed with great consternation by the Spanish, who thought that such frequent bathing was debilitating to the body and could lead to terrible diseases, right? This is why exactly this man is called a base man, right? A base man, children of fools, right? It says colonial officials repeatedly tried to outlaw such practices as harmful to the Indians, and the Temescali disappeared in Mexico but persisted in the remote areas. Virtually all of the Indians of North America used steam baths similar to the Aztec Temescali groups, as widely separated as the natives of California and Delaware, built semi-subterranean earthen structures entered by a tunnel. The Alaskan natives built similar baths covered with logs, while the Creeks covered theirs with hides and mats. Okay, page 244. Right, starting up here, it says the widespread and persistent use of the steam baths and of water baths by the Indians paralleled the practices of ancient Mediterranean cultures, but stood in sharp contrast to the practices of the Europeans who arrived in the New World. Right, and that's interesting because the ancient practices of ancient Mediterranean cultures, that was around where Jake was anyway. All right, and again, those Israelites that got taken out of Europe either by death, slavery, pillaging, murder, right, were Israelites, and the ones that came up were the serfs, man, the servants, okay, the slaves, the Slavs, right. It says the bathing probably served to reduce diseases among the Indians prior to the European arrival, and thereby partly accounted for the general freedom from epidemic diseases. The destruction of the lodges by the Europeans and their denunciation of frequent bathing quite probably contributed to the rapid spread of old world epidemics among the natives of the Americas. And that's a big point to take into account why epidemics spread the way they did. Because the Gadites and then Issacharites and Reubenites, Asherites, they all had herbs, they all had medicine men, you know, but they also had this form of medicine, which is steam bathing. Can you imagine being on a mountain, man, right, enjoying thermal bathing, with some herbs in there, right? Because you can actually take baths with herbs. There's a herbal bath you can take, and it costs a lot of money because there's a bunch of herbs that go in there, and maybe you have an old injury, you need to take that bath, and you got to sit in there, and it's uncomfortable, right? But it's gonna suck and draw out that old injury, whatever it is, man, that might be bothering you, right? So it says, the same Indians who gave the world quinine also gave it coca, which Indian farmers cultivated in approximately the same area at the foot of the Andes. One of the traditional uses of coca was a ritual cleanser applied to the body of the patient by a healer. More commonly, the leaves of the coca bush are chewed or made into a tea that soothes the body and alleviates pain as well as the discomfort of thirst, hunger, itching, and fatigue. Even though it cured no diseases the way quinine did, it seemed to refresh the mind and spirit as much as quinine refreshed the aching body, right? And this is dealing with the coca leaf, right, where cocaine is produced from, or synthesized, better yet, from, right? Because cocaine is a synthetic drug, right? It's something that's taken out, and that's something that these Edomites did, which we're gonna get into now. But this is the way of Esau. See, all these herbs and so-called drugs, even like the drugs that Esau pushes, they come from herbs, man. Esau just twisted it. That's why one of my favorite scriptures. Hold on one sec. One second. All right, this is Ecclesiastes 39. All right, um, and 24. Right, and it says, as his ways are plain unto the holy, so are they stumbling blocks unto the wicked, just like Cain and Abel. right? Abel knew, oh, I know what the Lord likes, you know. He set up his sacrifice right, you know, and Cain came in, you know, stumbling, bugged out, right? Reprobate, voided judgment, servant of veggies, man, you know, and fruit. It says, verse 25, for the good are good things created from the beginning, so evil things for sinners. Simple, right? So just like when we were on top of the, you know, ruling, so-called ruling on, you know, on the planet, things were in mostly order. You know, aside from the time we were in the Byzantine Empire and killing each other and waging wars and being wicked and spreading doctrine, you know, false doctrine, for the most part, who are the stewards of the planet, right? The book of Second Ezra, 8, it tells you, uh, or 9, it says, for us was the world created, and for the world to come for a few, right? So it says, the principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing, right? And these are beautiful things that are natural elements and substances in the earth, right? Natural properties in the earth. Every one of those things I just read, I can show you the downside in today's society. For example, water, right? This man added not only fluoride, but a bunch of other chemicals, heavy metals, chlorine, and then he has your garbage prescription drugs, whatever. You know, they said there's a bunch of prescription drugs traces found because a lot of people flush that down the toilet, even cocaine and different drugs, different pills, right? This man corrupted everything, man. When you deal with the salt, he said, we're gonna take out all the elements and leave sodium in there. So that's why that table salt spikes up your blood pressure because there's no potassium to balance it out. You know, flour of wheat. Oh, we're gonna refine that too. Make your pancreas work, give you diabetes. You know, honey. Oh, we're gonna pasteurize it, radiate it. You know, we're gonna take, you know, pretty much radiate all the good nutrients in there. You know, so you're just eating the sugar, right? Milk, same thing. Blood of the grape, wine. You got sulfites in there. You know, so like it says, blood of the grape and oil, right? You have your natural olive oil, which they corrupted. You know, the majority of the olive oils in the store, you know, you brothers already know, is not fit. You know, it's pretty much rancid, right? You got cottonseed oil, vegetable oil, garbage, man, death. You know, madness, right? Clothing, polyester, nylon, right? Just garbage, man. Foolishness, right? So verse 27, all these things are good for it's like all these things are for good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned into evil. And like I said, when we were ruling, flip it upside down, right? Flip it upside down, man. This is the situation we're in. We're in a backwards, upside down society. Woe unto him that turneth upside down, right? Isaiah, what is that? Isaiah 29. Hold on. Yeah, Isaiah 29 and 15, right? Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us? Yeah, the Illuminati, right? Up until 10, mm, around 2010, around that time, so around 12, 13 years, you didn't hear that term, or if you did, you sounded crazy saying it, right? But now it's in pop culture, it's in songs, it's pretty much part of trivial society. You know, it's pretty much mocked even. It's comedy, it's humor, right? But these are those people, man, who seeth us, who knoweth us, the Bilderbergs, different societies that they have, clubs and so forth and so on, right? Verse 16. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? right? So you turn everything upside down. So same thing, right? To the sinner, they are turned into evil, man. All these natural, beautiful resources is actually harming us now, turn against us. You go out, breathe air. It's supposed to be fresh air, oxygen. Fucking getting poisoned, man. All right, it says coca arrived in Europe by 1565 when Nicolas Monardes of Seville made the first scientific descriptions and drawings of it. Not until the late 1850s did German chemists manage to isolate the active ingredient, which became known as cocaine. And that, again, man, going into Tiemann, brothers pay special attention to Tiemann. Tiemann is we always talk about, right? Tiemann, who's Tiemann? The Germans. Why? Because they're pretty much the innovators of Esau, right? The industrial, the inventors, man, right? All the top research. The Russians and the Americans are damn near killing each other, man, trying to scrape up the SS scientists after the World War II, right? For a reason. But this is going into Teeman again, man, and Teemanites. So they were the ones that they took something natural that you can take. It won't hurt you unless you abuse it, of course, like anything, right? If you take too much herbs, you will abuse yourself. If you drink too much alcohol, which there's nothing wrong with drinking alcohol, you can get drunk, knock out on your bed, right? But if you abuse yourself, which you know what abuse is, right? Because your body will tell you, right? It'll hurt you. So same thing with these devils, man. They just said, look, I just want this part, right? And isolated that compound, that chemical from everything else that the Most High put in that plant from the seed, right? For it to grow and to become what it is, right? Because it's all a system. It's not just an isolated thing. When you get a herb, it's not just one isolated thing that it'll help you with. There's a bunch of things that makes it work and makes it do various things, right? In herbology, when you study herbs, there's a primary action of a herb, then there's a secondary action, and then so forth and so on. Depends on how many actions of a herb, right? So it says the first major medical use for it came in the 1880s as an anesthesia for painful eye surgery and later for dental surgery and other kinds of operations. Eventually, chemists synthesized cocaine to make procaine under the trademark Novocaine. It continues today as one of the most important anesthetics, right? In the small, hold on, what is it? In the world, con. So now this is another part down here, okay, from page 246. It says this part here. It says many of the roots and barks used to make medicines taste quite bitter or spicy. Because of this, many of the plants became known as peppers, and the drinks made from them bore such trademarks as Dr. Pepper, emphasizing both both the spicy taste and the medical origin. Of course, the emotional or physiological kick from these drinks originally came not from the misnamed peppers in them, but from the alcohol, opium, caffeine, cola, and cocaine. In common speech, however, the word pepper became closely associated with the notion of excitement, hyperactivity, and the amphetamine like high produced from these supposedly Indian tonics. Young people soon shortened the word pepper to pep, signifying the state produced by these drugs, and thus the English language acquired a new word, right? Like that same pep in your step. So down here it says the popular word was also used as the basis for yet another cola drink, Pepsi. The soft drink industry in America grew directly out of the traveling medical salesmen who hawked various kinds of Indian tonics. Because of the association of the Indians with the medical knowledge in the 19th century, the sellers of every medicine tried to connect it as closely as possible with Indians. Advertisements proclaimed their medicines as Indian tonics or Indian cures. The traveling medicine hawkers often carried a living Indian with them as proof that their medicine sprang from genuine Indian medicine, right? And this is Esau being a counterfeit, a hypocrite, everything, a fraud, right? A physician of no value, a huckster, right? We were talking about that last week at camp, a damn huckster, man. All right. It says the most famous of these included the Kiowa Indian Medicine and Vaudeville Company and the Kickapoo Indian Medicine Company, which sold for 250,000 in 1911. After over 30 years of performances, documents show that at least 150 medicines show featured one or more Kickapoo Indians, compared with 180 stock companies playing Broadway shows around the country in 1911. Right, so it was a big show. It was a big, big event with all the bells and whistles, so to speak, right? But it was pretty much Esau even demonizing Gad more, because now people are just gonna take that shit and say it's not. Oh, it's not working. It's making me worse. It's making me addicted to whatever drugs in there. I'm going through withdrawal and all that shit. All right. So it says, as American medicine became established and regulated by universities, hospitals, and medical associations, the Indian healer was pushed even farther, or ever farther, right? And that was due to Rockefeller. He had a guy called, I believe his name was Flexner, if I'm not mistaken. There's a thing called the Flexner Report. He went around the whole country, and he basically came back and said, look, the majority of the country, there's a bunch of natural healers, naturopaths, herbalists, homeopaths, those kind of schools, and then people are being treated by these methods. So Rockefeller said, look, we're gonna give a bunch of grant money to to universities and schools and doctors, so to speak, that are gonna adopt our system, and basically they flooded out the market that way, right? But in Canada and America, the majority of healers or doctors were naturopaths, okay, not allopaths, right? Because this system in the Western world, pretty much, we're following an allopathic system. All right, you can look that up. So it says the medicine shows became more vaudeville than medicine, as they combined humor, tricks of daring, and a little sex to stimulate flagging sales of their Indian nostrums, which often contain more alcohol, opium, or cocaine than they did Indian medicines. Increasingly, Indian medicine became associated with shams and quackery, right? And that's what Esau did, man. Just a devil, man, right? He made his money. Those devils made their money, right? And they further, um, you know, further diminished, Jake, pretty much, right? And it's funny because that term quack is actually from you devils, man. It comes from quack, comes from the German quacksalber, which in English is quicksilver or mercury, which is what these devils were actually treating people. They're giving them mercury, man. They thought that heavy metals can push out toxins in your body. All right, lead, arsenic, mercury. Okay, and they used to treat people like this, and a lot of people died. So that quack, that they flipped it on the real healers, man, on the natural paths. So these devils, man, they gotta go. Anyway, I hope you're edified with that. I'm gonna go into more things from this book because it is edifying, quite edifying. So Lord's will, I'm gonna do more lessons from this book. All right, Kahalalim la Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakha. Double honors to the apostles of GMS that rule well and who I learned this truth from, and salutations and blessings to you elect Akim and Aquathium, brothers and sisters. All right, that take heed in sincerity and in truth. Shalom.